It's noon time, and I'd like to call this meeting to order for the Waterways Management Commission with a roll call introductory by the members. And I'm going to start with Andy. Just say
I'm
here.
here.
Dana?
Present.
Here.
Kevin?
I am here. Thank you.
TJ?
Here.
Patty?
Yes.
And Roger's here. Has everyone thank you very much. That's great. Has everyone had a chance to read the prior minutes of 5:23? And I'll entertain a motion for acceptance.
Make a motion to accept the May 23rd, 2023 minutes.
I'll
And
second that.
And Andy second. Great. And let's have a roll call vote on that. Andy?
Yep.
Dana?
Approved.
Kevin?
Yes.
TJ?
Approved.
Patty?
Yes.
Roger says yes. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Now, moving right along to number 3 on our agenda, we have applications for new volunteer commission members. And I think I'd like to, if it's okay, I'd like to put that as number C. Can I do that, Steve, and just get rid of the chair and the vice chair vote quickly? Would that be possible?
Sure. Yeah, there's
We might need a motion. Do we need a motion for that?
Okay. May
makes
I
all
have a
happy,
motion to
yeah.
just realign that to number 3?
So moved.
And a second. Thank you. And then again, I'm obliged to take a roll call vote. Andy?
Yeah.
Dana?
Yep.
Kevin?
Yes.
Okay. TJ?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
And Roger's a yes. Thank you very much. So I'm just going to bump that to number 3, but start with B, which is nomination and a vote and a roll call for a new chair of the Waterways Commission.
I'd like to make a motion to have Roger Race be our next chair of the Waterways Commission.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, who seconded that?
Kevin.
Kevin. Thank you very much. And quickly, again, I'm obliged to do this roll call vote. All in favor of that motion? Andy?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
TJ?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
I think I can vote for myself. Thank you very much. I appreciate your confidence, and I will continue to lead with my one good eye going forward. Okay, and now for part 2, nomination and vote by roll call for a vice chair.
I'd like to make a nomination for Patty to be vice chair.
Okay, there's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, a
Second.
motion and a second. I'm obliged to do a roll call vote. Andy?
Yes.
Okay. Dana?
So just are there any other?
Does anybody else want to do it too?
Well, okay, that's a good question. I mean, there has been one motion for Patty. Do we take that as one motion at a time, or do we entertain other people and other motions simultaneously? I'm fuzzy on that. Maybe you can help me, TJ, on.
And you know what? Bear with me on that. I don't know what our underlying rules are. This is the first time I'm participating in a vote like this. So,
Yeah.
Steve Mello, maybe can you help us a little bit?
The commission is allowed to set within its own membership their structure. So typically is a nomination, a second, and there can either be a vote on that, or there can be another nomination with a second, and then cast votes, I guess.
For either one. Yeah, actually, I'm sorry, I'm delinquent. You're right. Motion and a second. There should be discussion. The discussion could actually be
Sure.
another motion for another party if that is desired by the crew. So on that note, is there discussion?
I'm a little confused here. This is, so if we want another nomination,
Put it in now, Kevin.
okay,
And then we'll have a motion and a second on that person. And then we can have at the end, yeah, one vote where it's just one or the other, I suppose. I've never done this before myself, so I'm flying blind.
No, you're not.
Yeah, and I mean, I just like with the close alignment with all the activity and what's going on with the harbor management plan and how closely the different groups are working, it just seems like a natural fit. That was kind of my thought process there.
Okay. And in all honesty, Kevin, you've made it very clear that you would very much like to have this vice chair position.
I do. I don't feel as I should put myself out for nomination. Let's
Well,
put it.
you can. I was reading Robert's Rules of Order. You're
understand.
allowed to. You're absolutely allowed to.
I'm allowed to, but
Yep.
at this point, that's not, if no one
Why
else.
don't we do this?
Yes,
I'll
TJ.
nominate Kevin, because we'll have a discussion, okay?
Yep.
And then we'll go from there, because that's fair and open in the way it should be.
Yes, that's
right.
exactly my
I
point.
agree.
TJ.
Okay, Kevin wants the job. I don't want the job at all.
Oh, come on.
I'm just putting that out there right now.
Okay.
Neither does Andy, is my understanding.
Okay.
And
And I would
Dan,
second.
after what she's just seen, probably doesn't even want to be on.
And thank you. That was the second day. Thank you. Okay. So more discussion on that. Kevin really wants the job. Patty has had experience working with lots of committees, as has Kevin. So we have two excellent candidates. I guess then, as I understand it, we have two going forward. We do a roll call vote saying Patty or Kevin. Would that work for everybody?
Steve, is that the right process?
Well, that's one way. I would suggest the first motion, which was for Patty Swearduck, that's been seconded. Take a
Yeah.
roll call vote on that.
Okay.
And if necessary, take a roll call vote on the second motion.
Okay.
Vote on them in the order that they were moved.
Can
Okay.
I add one more to this, maybe? And I may do it in the form of a motion if people are interested in indulging it. Why don't we do it by seniority and just rotate on and off, and that way we all have to do it sooner or later.
Well, that's a really interesting.
I'm uncomfortable that we choose most of the boards I've served on in my life, we rotate by seniority on them. Unless somebody doesn't want to do it, then it goes to the next person in a level of seniority. I don't know who has seniority here. I'm assuming, Roger, you have seniority after Jerry had it, correct?
Correct.
And why don't maybe we go in that direction together, and that way we have a way of moving forward.
I like it, TJ. I was actually talking with Stephen earlier today to have what I was calling rotation of roles, so that we don't get just stuck in one role for years and years and years, but bring new folks in constantly in all these roles, so everybody gets engaged, everybody has a time at bat, as it were. So I'm very cool with that, and I think that would be a good and open way to move forward. So in lieu of that, and trying to again keep open and fresh, Steve, you think the best way is to go for the first motion with a roll call vote, and then the second motion with a roll call vote?
Well, you do have two open motions, so they need to be either voted on or withdrawn. So that would be my suggestion, that you do them in order of appearance.
Okay.
So there's closure to the motions that have been
Right.
seconded.
Okay.
Well, so what sounds like there potentially is a third motion
Oh,
Right.
that TJ was just putting in. Be interested to hear how you're.
I'm gonna put that in the form of a motion that the vice chair is filled by seniority, and it rotates every year off of it. So you get 1 year, and it goes to the next seniority person, then it goes to the next seniority. This is assuming they want to do it, or it can just keep skipping down. And that way,
yeah,
everybody's prepared. As the future goes on, if if we have an opening at Roger's position or
Yeah.
at the chairman position, we don't have to sit down and figure it out like this.
I'll second that motion.
I like that. I like that. So in discussion, that really keeps it. What I was trying to think is keep this fresh, keep it so everybody gets engaged in going forward. Does anybody else have any comments on this third motion of role rotation by seniority? I'll call that the motion.
Yeah,
I have
I'll
a question.
I'll withdraw my first motion. Sorry, Patty.
Okay.
That's fine by me.
And
Okay.
then I'll withdraw mine too. I don't know if it's Kevin or you.
I
Patty.
love it.
don't know
This
which
is
one
great.
has more seniority now.
I
Or
love
Andy. I
the,
didn't even think of it. Andy. I know it isn't
No
me.
one thinks of Andy.
no, and that's the way Andy wants it. Thank you very much, TJ. I think that brings clarity and simplicity. You must be a lawyer to
How about that?
this whole process. Thank you
I'm a
very
lawyer
much.
that's on vacation.
Okay, good. Well, his brain is still working. Thank you. So the first two motions have been withdrawn. So TJ has presented a motion of role rotation by seniority if they can and are willing to do it at the time. I'll need, unless there's any other discussion, I'd need a roll call vote on that. Hearing none. Andy, are you in favor of this third motion?
Yes.
Okay. Dana.
Yes.
Okay. Kevin.
Yes.
TJ.
Yes.
Patty.
Yes.
And Roger is a yes. So that's unanimous for role rotation by seniority. So I'm not, who, do you know, Steve, do we actually have a chronological list of everybody's on and off?
You're not supposed to ask questions I don't have the answer to.
Can I make one further comment on that? Roger,
Yes.
you don't get to rotate off in a year.
Oh, no. Damn. Okay.
You're with it until.
And Andy is the next in line.
Yeah, I'm the next in line.
And then
Okay.
I would be after Andy.
Originally I was going to say no because I was not up for a lifetime appointment, but
Yeah.
I like the year rotation thing. So
Well, that was what I was thinking, Andy.
I'd be up for a year.
We get stuck in a groove, and I don't want that. I want to engage everybody so that as we go forward, and the board evolves with new young people. I think that's great. So
Was the motion made that the term would be a year? I didn't have any time indicated on that.
I had proposed 1 year in the motion.
That was in the motion, 1 year roll
I didn't hear
rotation.
that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'd be up for a year.
So Andy is next in line, and he's saying, okay.
And then it would go Patty or Kevin.
I actually don't have a list of who is.
I brought Patty to the board, so
I think Kevin is next.
I think it's
No,
Kevin.
I know
think
he
it's
was there before I was.
Yeah.
Okay, then it's you because you were there before me. And then it's Dana because she was there after me.
See, we
Okay.
can figure this out.
All right. Well, tell you what, I will take that as an action to actually get the list of when everybody joins so that we have that in our back pocket, knowing you'll be forewarned when you know your time is up and you got to serve. But that is fantastic. Thank you very much for all your discussion. Thank you, Andy, for stepping up. I know you're busy. I'll try to minimize the time that we lean on you. How's that?
All good.
Okay. Well, then that brings me to number 3, which we've all been waiting for with bated breath. Applications for new volunteer commission members. How did we do this last time, Steve? We had them each do an introductory remark.
I think it was introductory statement and then questions from the commission.
Excellent.
I know there was deliberations and executive session, but I'm not sure how we do that on Zoom. But in any event, we started off with an introduction and then questions.
Okay.
And then the
Well,
next.
I think we did that. They each made an introduction, and then we went into executive session. I believe we can do that on. I don't know how to personally do it. I don't manage this meeting, but I know you can do it.
Right.
Okay.
But I think there were questions from the commissioners after the introduction. So if any commission member has a question
two.
of the candidate, that
Right.
was,
Well, I would then like to start with Andrea. Please give us your background and introduction, and thank you very much. I want to say it's great to have two wonderful people up and apply. I think thank you, thank you, thank you. But Andrea, please give us your background and introduction.
Have you, can you see me?
No,
No,
Yeah, I've got the start video.
I can only see half of you, but that's another
There.
thing.
There you go. We can see
Okay.
you now.
That's never happened. So I'm Andrea Langhauser. I live on Rockland Street, out of the floodplain. I'm an environmental planner, a retired environmental planner. I still do some consulting work. I was working in state and local government for waterfront permitting and planning. I most notably spent probably about 25 years at Mass DEP with the Chapter 91 Waterways program, which is the licensing program for docks, piers, and development on filled tidelands. I was their senior planner. I helped to write regulations for them. I helped to construct a lot of the Harbor Walk in downtown Boston. And we developed a simplified licensing program that I helped to write the regulations for. I also have local environmental planning experience, most recently as the assistant town planner for the town of Easton, where I was the planning director when needed, and most of my time was with the Conservation Commission and the Agriculture Commission. For both boards, we helped to revise regulations and streamlined their processes. I was with Easton during COVID, which was totally fun. But I live in town. I'm the daughter of a merchant marine, so we've been on the water most of our lives. Learned how to sail when I was just a kid. Married a landlubber. So when I got here, Andy, I actually went over to the community boating and had a wonderful intermediate sailing program with one of your 17-year-old captains, who just by having him on the board, we were able to get out into Buzzards Bay, which was totally fun. So he was great. I hope he's still in Dartmouth at college now. So that was fun. I have a couple friends who let me sail on their boats in the harbor. I've been on the Harbor Plan Implementation Committee since its inception. Been working with Roger and Patty on that, and we're moving forward on a couple really great projects. And we've gotten about $500,000 worth of grant money into the town through the MVP program, through Seaport Economic Development. I just love this kind of stuff. I think if you guys want to get beyond mooring regulations, then I'd love to be involved in managing our waters. It's what brought me to Dartmouth, and I think it brings most people and keeps most people in Dartmouth.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Andrea, for that statement. I want to hold questions to the very end and get Eli, if that's okay with the gang, to give his statement at this time.
Sure.
Eli, you're up.
Thank you. And thanks for having me, everybody. My name is Eli Powell. I grew up right on Cottage Street in South Dartmouth. I worked on the waterfront, and I have worked on the waterfront since I was 13. My first job was cleaning a charter fishing boat. And I worked for Community Boating Center for 7 years, and was a high school sailor for the Dartmouth High School team under Warren Hathaway. I also worked for Seth Garfield for several years out on the oyster farm, and at the same time worked for the New Bedford Harbor Development Commission and under Ed Washburn, and worked for several years developing the rules and regulations, and then wrote the rules and regulations for commercial aquaculture in the city of New Bedford, working with NOAA and the Division of Marine Fisheries. So I have, albeit less experience than Andrea, but some experience writing rules and regs for the waterfront, and really just have a lifetime of experience working and playing and living on Buzzards Bay and Padenarum Harbor and the surrounding waters, and am a resident again of Dartmouth and a business owner here, small business owner and a homeowner, and am just hugely invested in the waterfront and the community in Padenarum and around Padenarum Harbor, and enthusiastic to help grow that community.
Excellent. Thank you, Eli. As I said, thank you to both of our friends today. How do we want to proceed, Commission? Do we want to ask them questions at this time?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay. Any questions from our audience?
I would just like to say that I am so grateful that we have two really wonderful people applying. It's terrific to see people that are wanting to be on this commission that have experience, both a lot of different types of background experience, but also a love of the water and wanting to participate and contribute. So I just want to say that up front, that I think it's great.
I concur, Patty. It's wonderful to have these people come before us. We're very, very lucky to have such great folks live in Dartmouth. I have a question for Eli. Eli, are you doing aquaculture here in Dartmouth waters now?
Currently, I am not. That's sort of been put on the back burner. The Division of Marine Fisheries didn't like our site selection over towards the mouth of the Slocum River. However,
there were cohogs already there. I read the report.
Yeah, so in the state of Massachusetts, if there's a commercially viable density of basically anything, you're not allowed to license that property to a single entity. And so there were a commercially viable density of clams in that area, and so they weren't comfortable licensing that to us. Because of the Commonwealth. But so it's not off the table, but it's on the back burner.
Got it. Anybody else?
I have a question to both. Andrea or Eli, do you serve on any of the other boards in town now?
No, sir.
Eli, if you let me speak. I'm on the board of directors for the Dartmouth Natural Resource Trust. I just joined I was just elected in May for a 3-year term. The harbor implementation plan I've been involved with since its inception. I'm on a subcommittee of the Dartmouth Tree Committee working on developing a town bylaw for trees. And Friends of Library, that's not a town board.
No, that's
I'm on the Friends of the Library board as well.
Any other questions for either Andrea or Eli?
So I have a question. I'm wondering, as you look at the harbor and at the commission itself, if there's specific issues that you're interested in pursuing, or if there's places where you think, we need to where we need improvements. Or
great question, Dana.
Eli, I went first last time. You want to go first this time?
Go right ahead.
Gee, yeah. Yeah, I do have a lot of ideas. The Harbor Plan Implementation Committee has been a wonderful group to work with. The plan itself set up 114 different recommendations. We've been knocking them off. Two things that I think are probably most significant is that the plan itself suggested that we develop a really clear vision for what the harbor can and should be. And with the help of Patty, Patty and I have been working with with a group of other committee members from Planning Board members, Conservation Commission members, staff from Planning Board, staff from Concom, the Docs focus group. It has two really great products that I think you're going to be seeing shortly. One I'm very excited about is a GIS map of the uses in the harbor. And we've basically, we started out talking about how docks and piers have a way of proliferating, because if somebody asks, unless it's going to, bang into something physically, it's kind of hard to say no. So, and you can bang into shells and shellfish and just move them. So, I mean, you have to bang into something else. We've developed this GIS map where we reserve areas for high-speed moorings, for that we identify the perimeters of the existing mooring field. We identify where the thoroughfares are and the fairways so that boats can move around. We identify the swimming areas, the shellfish areas, which is the whole harbor is the shellfish, map shellfish area, but where we have aquaculture licenses and other types of things that are happening, and public access on the waterfront, like our boat landings and stuff. So we put all these different uses together, and we basically say, okay, along the perimeter, you can have docks, but those docks shouldn't go into these other areas. So by establishing this GIS map, we're actually creating a visual plan for what the harbor could look like. This is a draft plan that I don't mean to steal Patty's thunder, but one of the reasons I was thinking of being on Waterways is that the Harbor Plan Implementation Committee is kind of, we just facilitate the actions of others. We're not an implementing group ourselves. Waterways can implement, can take this plan, get some feedback, and create a binding document on where you want to see growth of different types, both public access growth and private individual development that doesn't interfere with the public and commercial uses. So it also has great play at Mass DEP, because once it gets codified as a locally accepted plan, and a GIS map can be a locally accepted plan, it then has the strength of regulation in Mass GIS, in Mass DEP licensing. It becomes a guidance document that they have to consider when they do licensing. A second aspect is a local permitting program where you can actually ask Mass DEP to give the town the ability to permit docks, individual docks and piers of small size. So as long as they adhere to identified performance standards, and basically give the harbor master, instead of being in a recommended position, he recommends to Concom and to Planning Board, you actually give him the authority to make his implementation a local permit, that Mass DEP can approve that type of permitting program, which only one other town has done. But I've been speaking with the program chief, and he's totally excited about the thought of reinvigorating that option if different towns such as Dartmouth were interested in doing it. So just like the land has gotten a lot of pressure to develop, the water's going to have a lot of pressure to develop as well. And you ought to pay attention and put some put your vision forward before the development gets too strict and before the development gets too overwhelming, and you lose what you always thought the harbor was and should be. So that's what the Harbor Plan Implementation Committee's been doing. That's why I'm interested in being in Waterways, because you guys can actually implement some really well-articulated visions that we're putting together.
I think along the same vein as, albeit maybe not as sussed out of vein as Andreas, I having grown up on the waterfront here and done enjoyed a variety of different aspects of the waterfront. I think I am very invested in just preserving the historical and pedigreed uses that I think we all enjoy of the waterfront in Paid-Naram and on Buzzards Bay, just as far as water access is concerned, and the working waterfront that we've all learned about in Paid-Naram, and making sure that there is an industry and a recreational opportunity for everyone, including underserved populations going forward.
I have a question for Andrea. Andrea, on this permitting, how close to shore do these zones apply? Would they go within 100 feet of the shoreline? I know a 200-foot dock is kind of the limit that the Corps of Engineers gets involved beyond 200 feet, but these proposed use zones, how close to the shoreline would those extend?
It varies, Kevin. Obviously, the swimming areas are defined at the water, right at the beach.
Sure.
But generally they're not. Generally, they're off. We'll be presenting a plan. It's being developed by the town planner, and it should be fine. It should be getting finalized in a draft form, and we can bring that forward.
What distance would you support?
Well, I think that there are fixed points in the harbor now with the perimeter of the mooring fields, with the existing public landings, with the existing shellfish areas, and obviously swimming areas. I think that around the mooring fields, you should have a thoroughfare for the boats to be able to travel outside of the mooring field, and that should be, that's got a particular width based on depth available. And I wouldn't support docks being any longer, private docks being any longer than they need to be to reach minimum navigable depth, and certainly no longer than the docks adjacent to them.
Okay, thank you.
And those are the standards of Mass DEP. That's the way it's supposed to be anyways.
Thank you.
Any other questions for our?
I have one for Eli. Eli, I'd like to hear a little bit more about your work in New Bedford. You alluded to it, and I was not aware of that. Can you give us a quick synopsis of the work that you were doing there? Can't hear you.
Yep, sorry about that. When I first moved back to Dartmouth, 2017, I believe, I was working. I was working as basically a vessel operator and maintenance technician for the Harbor Development Commission, and my duties quickly started to include, because of my involvement in aquaculture out on Cuttyhunk for Cuttyhunk shellfish. And I also worked in scallop research at the University of Massachusetts for a couple of years, doing their scallop surveys with the commercial fleet. And so because of that, Ed looped me into a lot of the shellfish and commercial fisheries oriented development that the Harbor Development Commission was working on. And ultimately, I left the Harbor Development Commission as a full-time employee and started consulting for them to develop their commercial aquaculture regulations, which was a priority of the Mayor John Mitchell. A lot of that was working with the Division of Marine Fisheries, Mass Division of Marine Fisheries, and employee of NOAA who left the Division of Marine Fisheries while we were working on the project to go work for NOAA. And basically NOAA set up a similar usage plan for New Bedford waters, and from that we began to develop the regulations for New Bedford. Unlike Dartmouth, New Bedford had never had commercial aquaculture regulations, and so we had to write them. And so my job as a consultant was to write those regulations, and with the assistance of the Division of Marine Fisheries, get them approved by the Development Commission. Part of that was doing some pilot projects with community boating, and we worked with some scientists and professors down at Roger Williams who were involved in the aquaculture industry to make sure that growing oysters in different areas in New Bedford were actually viable. We set up water quality sample sites, and did a lot of research within the city confines, within the hurricane barrier and outside the hurricane barrier, and consulted all over the state with different stakeholders in the aquaculture world to sort of gauge interest in New Bedford. And yeah, that was the culmination of that, was getting the aquaculture regulations approved by the commission. But I was largely responsible for writing that.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Echo Roger's sentiment to both of you. It's super qualified, both of you. It's nice to see people want to participate. It's the most important thing we can do for our communities. It's nice to see a lot of ways that Eli looping in next gen to the world they're going to live in for a lot longer, I think, than I will. So well done to both. And Andrea's career has been, bespoke. So I feel like I went to school today.
Absolutely. Yeah, I concur. Now I'm being told by my friends at DCTV, they can place the non-members into a waiting room and they can disappear for a while we have a private talk, and then we can bring them back with our results, if you will. So DCTV, can you please place Andrea and Eli into the private waiting room, please?
And Bob, you got to. I think Bob's got to go in there too.
Bob can stay.
Bye, Bob.
Oh no. So just so you know, that's a Zoom feature. You can make people disappear and they can't hear and they can't see us. So that's kind of a fun. I learned something today too.
In there?
That could save a marriage or two.
Roger, ready? I disappeared.
No, there goes CJ. Anyway, I agree. They're two very well qualified people. I love having the young spirit coming in, but I also love the experience of Andrea, who, she didn't say it, but I mean, she was Mrs. Docks and Piers for the state of Massachusetts and brings a lot of expertise going forward, and just is a wealth of knowledge. But I hate to we only get to choose one, so I hate to lose Eli too.
We're getting a
Community
message.
media says need to vote to go. Oh, we need a vote to go into executive session.
Oh, I'm sorry. I am sorry. I didn't know that. I just thought we could just get rid of them. I would entertain a vote to go into executive session, please, starting with Andy,
Yes.
Dana. Executive session, Dana, just yes. You,
Yes.
okay. Kevin, executive session.
Yes.
Okay. TJ
Yes.
and Patty.
Yes.
Okay, and Roger is a yes. It's unanimous vote to go to executive session. Thank you very much, DCTV.
There we go. We're back.
So we're back in action, folks. We're being recorded. Thank you. And we have our guests. Thank you. They're back. Eli and Andrea. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Great discussion. We love you both. The action is for me, Roger, to talk to Andrea and Eli separately in about an hour. Can I call you up, Andrea? What's a good number for Andrea?
It's public, so.
Yeah, why don't we email it?
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry. Andrea and Eli, could you please send me by email your telephone number so that I can call you individually in the next hour? How does that sound?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Eli.
I'm sending you a text, Roger.
Thank you very much, Andrea. So again, I want to say I am very impressed. I am very happy to have you both here, and I can speak for the group. We all love you, and thank you very much for your time.
Here,
Thank you
here.
very much.
Okay.
Yep.
Roger, could I just have your email address quickly?
Sure thing, Eli. And I'm happy to announce this to the world because I'm out there. It's roger.race@gmail.com. Thank you. I just got the text, Andrea. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much for entertaining my my candidacy.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you, Andrea.
So I'm going to talk to each of you. If you each want to jump off now, that's fine. We're just going to jump into the rest of our business today, which is the next one is item 4, Steve, unless you have anything else, the Waterways rates.
Each year, I am encouraged to incrementally raise rates to keep up with the cost of inflation and labor and fuel and rent and whatnot. Last year, we raised the mooring rates, and the dinghy rack rates actually doubled. This year, I've included a rate increase for boats from $4.50 and $10 last year per foot to $5 and $11 per foot. And I don't have the exact figure, but that generates somewhere in the range of $15,000 to $20,000 additional revenue to help keep up with the costs that we face. Modest increase. We're not going up every year on one and not the other. We stagger that out and we stay competitive. So we're not the cheapest. We're not the most expensive by far. Trying to keep it pretty much well under the fuel increases boaters are facing and whatnot. So that's going out with the renewals for marinas already and for moorings when we make those mailings in February.
Excellent. Do we need a motion to approve those rate increases for the year 2024?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Excellent. So I have a motion and a second. I will go through the roll call vote again. Andy?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
TJ?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
And Roger says yes. Thank you very much, Steve. That's good. Let's move on to number 5 in your agenda item.
As we refine and apply our mooring regulations, there's always something that comes up. And what has reared its head this summer is what I call a straw partnership or a transfer of a mooring permit with a boat. And I'm not going to pick out any single, but the scheme or plan that I describe is I believe strongly is in violation of state law on the transfer of mooring permits. And it works such that someone has a boat, somebody else has a mooring permit. The person with a mooring permit is selling the boat that's assigned to the mooring permit, and they purchase a straw purchase of a share of the non-mooring holder's boat. They put their name on that boat, saying it's partially theirs, and then they attach it to the mooring without having to wait through the mooring waiting list, without having to rent a commercial spot. And again, as we go down the road, 20 plus years after the formation of our mooring regulations initially, I think this needs to be tightened up to prevent violation of the spirit of the waiting list and its purpose. I know Warren Hathaway was fond of always bringing up the spirit of our waiting list in application and its purpose in keeping things on an even playing field. I'm not sure what I'm looking at here is a change in regulations or just in the application of our existing regulations. Our regulations mirror the state law, which says you can transfer a mooring permit within an immediate family only, and the state carefully defines what immediate family members are. I think we have options that what constitutes ownership of the vessel of record assigned to a mooring, and right now it isn't well defined. A less than majority or managing partnership could be construed as ownership. Somebody who has on a documentation or even a state registration 5, 10, or even just 15% ownership in a boat, with the non-mooring assignee having the managing partner role or a majority ownership in the vessel. So I'm bringing it to the commission's attention. Again, I'm not looking to call out anyone individually. Certainly families that own a boat together would fit within the immediate family transfer. And I'm not talking about two brothers or brother and sister who share a boat, father and son that share a boat. That's all covered under state law in the immediate family transfer. And I remind the commission that even though we've been tasked with managing this Kraken of the harbor, we don't own it. That is state water that I'm between the state and the town supposed to apply both state and town regulations towards. And somewhere in that lies the reason why my appointment is under state law and not a local town tenure, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. This is one of those examples where a town could say we want an open policy and it would violate state law. And I'm bound to maintain the state law over the distribution or allocation of the Commonwealth's asset that is the waterway beyond the high tide mark. So I throw it out there for discussion. And
I would,
Yes,
I would
TJ.
be happy to take a stab at drafting something with Steve if that would help a little bit. Just on the legal entity structure side. But I think he's correct in that we have two scenarios we have to address. One where there's less than 50% owners, i.e., you have three. I'm going to pick on the older gentleman again. three of us older gentlemen can't run a boat by ourselves, so we decide to go buy a boat together. And one of us has a mooring permit to which we're going to put the boat on. I think Steve covers that in that if as long as that person who owns the mooring right is the managing person of that stops it from being a bit of a shell. Am I on to what you were thinking?
yes, that is because there is an official designation on documentation. And I also believe under state registration, they designate the managing partner. So you could have 10 partners and there's one that is the contact person, also known as the managing partner, who, in your scenario would be the person that has the mooring permit.
And that would keep it in spirit plus also accountability.
Right.
Which is the other big point. You do not want somebody who has 2% of a boat just because they have a mooring and they're never there and they live in California or they live somewhere else.
Right. Then what happens there is the mooring is not properly turned over to the waiting list as the state requires. So the people on the waiting list are infringed. The state would be upset about that, putting it colloquially. I think that's exactly what we're on the same page.
We'll need to, the three entities I've seen on the financing side is there's partnerships or limited partnerships, which from all intents and purposes can be, one or the other, but they're the same type of entity. Secondly, there's LLCs, and third, they'll be straight corporations. So I think the rules are going to have to address the three types. I guess you're going to throw a fourth in. There's trusts also.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we don't see a lot of, we do. We have family trusts that own a boat, with one person being the point person that gets the mooring permit. And again, what the state is trying to prevent is perpetual mooring ownership,
Right.
perpetual control of a portion of their waterway. It happens to some degree, but it has to be controlled, and it has to be done under the plan that they've put forth for immediate family transfers, for a fair and open mooring waiting list, for control by the town and regulation with inspections and use. So
Thank you, Steve. I think we do want to tighten up. It sounds like it's a loophole we just hadn't addressed before. TJ, if you could draft up with Steve, I think that'd be fantastic, and try to solve this issue.
I'm happy on the little part of it. I do understand. So
Okay.
I mean, Steve's got the waterway part of it, and the corporate knowledge, and I got a little bit more on the corporate knowledge side probably. So together, I think we can come up with something to take back to everybody here that we can understand.
Sure.
And implement into our rules and make it very clear to folks, you really can't do this.
Well, I think you're going to see more. I think you're going to start to see more of it, especially with boat sharing. I mean, look at the cost of boating is skyrocketing, and the population that does it is aging tremendously. So this is going to become more and more, more and more of a. We're going to need to address it because people are going to need to do it to stay in it.
Exactly right. I see more and more of this boat share out there. So this would be very timely to act on this now. So thank you very much, TJ.
It'll also give people a structure that when they do put these things together, they know what they need to do, rather than they find out that they've run afoul of it after they've done it.
No, we define the expectation, and they can comply with that, and
Right.
open and above board.
I think that's a really important point, is that people need to know in advance of forming any kind of partnerships, so that they can, whatever they're going to do with the mooring, that they understand upfront what it's about. So that's great, TJ, that you'll do that. You got
I'm
that.
happy to help. I'm happy to help on that. I can
Thank you.
provide some benefit, I hope.
If I haven't said it today, we love lawyers. Thank you.
Yes, when they're on our side.
Especially free ones.
Thank you, Dak.
That's very good. Are there any other issues that we want to bring forth under new business or anything? Anybody have any?
I've got one quick one. I believe that I haven't heard anything official from the town, but the village tree lighting ceremony is going to be the first Friday in December. I think it's the 1st of December.
Yeah.
And it's a 3-hour event in the late afternoon, which will culminate with the lighting of the buoy tree, which is already in place. And if you've been through the village at night, as my daughter has several nights now, the lights are up, and the elves were there last Saturday. But she almost yelled my head off when she saw one in a tree putting up the lights, but it was the cutest thing ever. So anyway, big ceremony. Santa Claus is coming to the yacht club the 6th. I hear that the police might be bringing him on a boat.
Oh boy.
Actually, harbor master on a police boat, if you will. That's the plan.
Excellent, Steve. Thank you for that. Is there any other public comment? Anyone? Yes, sir.
Bob Garvin, Finance Committee. I'm sorry, what were the waterways? What was the increase?
Bob, last year we changed moorings and dinghy racks. This year, the boat fee is going to go from $4.50 per foot for resident and $10 per foot for non-residents to $5 and $11.
Okay.
So that's $15,000 to
Okay.
$20,000 increase in our overall operating budget. And
Okay,
hasn't been, those have not been changed in at least 3 years.
Right.
So,
okay. And the other thing is, the, the marina, I went to the meeting on Parks and Recs where they approved the, memorandum of understanding. That's all set. So I just
Yes.
want to make sure that that's moving along.
Thank you.
it is, the town administrator was able to get that memorandum of agreement, he called it, same thing, approved and accepted by the select board on behalf of the landing side. So we are now awaiting state license and federal, which should be here within a month, I've been told, and moving on to construction documents in the next year.
Great.
Okay. Good.
Thank you, Bob. We always appreciate your stopping by.
Okay.
Anyone else? I'd like to set a date for another quick meeting in November. What is November? Could we do it the 16th? Would that be too quick?
Works for me.
Works for me.
Do it at noon again, noontime?
Noon is good for me, actually.
Can you give me 1 sec?
Okay. November 16th is a Thursday, and it's next Thursday, and we'll have basically one agenda item, which is my report back on speaking with Eli and Andrea.
Good. I'm
Great.
good with that
Good for
too.
me.
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, then we will do that. That'll be our Waterways. With that one agenda item, Steve, really pretty straightforward.
Got it. I can put that together. Tomorrow is a town holiday, so I'll have to post that Monday.
Right.
And I'm sure we're in time.
Yeah, no, that's good. Okay. Thank you all very, very much. I appreciate you. And we do realize this is a volunteer position. And I will say thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you,
Anytime,
Roger.
Roger.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay.
Nice job,
Great.
Roger.
We'll see
Bye,
you next
everybody.
week.
We have a
Same bat
motion to
channel, same
adjourn.
bat
We need a
station.
motion to adjourn with a roll call.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Motion to
Motion
adjourn.
to adjourn.
Second.
So moved.
Second, first.
Yes.
Yes,
Goodbye.
yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.